Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. This week we're going to be checking out Knightmare by P. Sky Owens, and it's an Antarctic Press book. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own artwork. This is Random Access. It's a 12 page, full size, full color comic that I produce for my patrons. You can check this out at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. Or you can also check these out at alexanderturbin.com. And or you can just message me at alexturbin0441 at Instagram. Like I said, it's a 12 page, full size, full color comic. And I also have contributions by other artists. This one is Alex Daikaju, and Chris Knox usually has a backup story. It's his Space Bear comic. And yeah, you can always check that out. So let's get into Knightmare by P. Sky Owens in Antarctic Press. Like I said, number one. So I had never read this before until just a few minutes ago, and I mean, I don't know when I got it. I had a couple comic book stores, so it could have come from anywhere. But Antarctic Press is Ben Dunn's publishing company, I guess, and it has actually quite a few titles. So they were or are, I don't know if they're still running, a pretty big publishing company for having just the black and white books and stuff. Ben Dunn did the Tiger X and Ninja High School stuff for Eternity Comics, so you'll kind of recognize his name. I had never seen anything or since by this P. Sky Owens, but I did actually enjoy this read. A little bit of a spoiler there, I guess. I guess I shouldn't say that until I review it. But before I get into the art and the story, art and the writing, let's dive into the story. So, prologue. Basically, there's a superhero team. This is very much a superhero comic, but it kind of switches gears a little bit than your regular Marvel or DC stuff, which I like a lot, because if you're going to do superhero stuff and it's going to be indie, you're going to make it a little bit different, because if you don't, then why not just read Marvel and DC with those well-established characters? But so we have Knightmare and his teammate, I can't remember her name, Angels, no, what's her name? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll see it somewhere. So there are a couple of superheroes, and they basically win all of the wars against the bad guys, but the bad guys come back and create a nuclear war. So in the end, the villains beat the heroes, which is kind of unusual, and I like that a lot. So then it fast forwards to 5 years after the nuclear war, and like society has rebuilt itself, and you have this priestess, and she is going through and talking to, I guess it's an evil demon that she and excuse me, she and the population, I don't know if they worship him or he's just their overlord or something, but she's begging him for something. I don't know what she wants, something for the people, but he gives her a tongue lashing, and he's like, the only thing you need to do is chill out until I find my hated enemy, Knightmare. So Knightmare still lives, I don't know, I guess. But so she goes to her palace or whatever. She's some sort of priestess, magician or whatever, and she's got this magical flame, which is pretty cool. And she wants the flame to tell her all about Knightmare. So this magical flame goes back in time, shows her the time traveling thing, and it has this news reporter, and she's talking about an explosion that happened, and this is basically the introduction of Knightmare. And it's like a high priestess of devil worshiper or whatever, looking for Knightmare. And so this is how they introduce Knightmare into into the comic, which is very good. I really enjoy this this foreshadowing, this intro prologue thing that, I mean, it really has nothing to do with this, but it's so enjoyable that you're like, I'm just going to take my time and I'm going to enjoy the story that's coming along, which is what I felt anyway. There's lots of reading. There's lots of dialogue. There's lots of exposition, but it's well written, and I'll get into that later. But you know, some comic fans, they just don't like to read a lot, which is kind of silly to me because comics is reading. And I mean, I understand if it's not really that good writing, then you kind of have to slog along and not enjoy it. But if the writing is good, then there's no reason to enjoy the expanse of it. So it's got Knightmare, and there's been an explosion, and I feel like this is an homage to Spider-Man. I can't remember what issue, early issue, where he's in the sewers and he has to summon all of his strength and to get out of this explosion thing. So, but as he's sitting there, he's kind of Nightmare. He's kind of reminiscing about how he got his powers, or how he became Nightmare and stuff. So you have this girl here, this sexy girl, which this American anime style is really cool. But he's some sort of fighter. This for me is an intriguing thing about comics and art and black and white. He is black, and the only way that I can tell that he's black is the way he talks. And even then, I didn't understand it until later on when somebody actually says the N word to him. So then I realized that he's black. So my question is, why didn't they gray tone his skin in if he's black? Or I really don't know how. This is a conundrum for me, because how do you draw a black person in black and white without using some sort of gray tone? If anybody has any kind of answers, please let me know, and maybe some examples of some good examples of how it's been done. But anyway, they're in a karate tournament, and he's been looking at this chick, and he's got his friend's little sister is his trainer or whatever. She's also got a huge crush on him. So this becomes very manga-ish, anime-ish, with the side humor and stuff like that. But it's Americanized a little bit. So this book is really a dichotomy of a lot of different things and the way he presents it. Some of it's good, some of it I don't really jive with. But beautiful backgrounds. But let's not get into the art. I always want to jump into critiquing or talking about the art, but I got to stop doing that. This is story only time, guys. So he's got this cool Chinese wardrobe on, which now that I know he's black, reminds me of Into the Dragon. The Dragon. What's that? That martial arts movie. Anyway, it reminds me of that, which I love, even though I can't remember the name of it. So he's going through all of these different combatants, and this one obviously has a swastika on his head. He's very racist towards the black person. And he keeps looking at the girl, the pretty girl. So they go through all of these different fights, and he wins, I guess, the majority of them. He even fights this super badass guy, and she's watching, keeps watching, but he wins almost all of the fights. But they find out that the racist guy, actually the Nazi guy, actually wins the tournament, which is very weird, and he gets angry and depressed. But she actually invites him for a ride, and the trainer is very upset about this and pissed off because, like I've said, she has a crush on him. So there's all these little emotional things going on, these little relationship things going on. So they go for a ride, and he's like trying to be cool and suave, and she's trying to be cool and suave. They're trying to be the icons that they're trying to represent, which is pretty cool. And they end up going to a mansion of some sort, and he's really trying to figure out what's going on. And they keep talking about how he is using like this American slang, this black kind of speak, and he kind of uses it a little bit. I don't know, saying jive and stuff like that. But they realize that they both know that he's really quite an intelligent person, which even if you use that slang lingo, you can completely be intelligent anyway. But so she introduces him to her father, and he's the one that had her pay off the judges so that he lost the tournament, so he wouldn't be going off into a different direction, I guess. But so he talks to her father and his assistant, which is a hot girl. Obviously, this is a manga inspired comic. Of course, there's going to be tons of hot girls. So the girls walk away, but there's some sexism in here and racism that is a little it's not off-putting because I don't feel like it's really racism and sexism. I think it's just kind of either a parody or something like that of racism and sexism. So it's kind of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is neither racist nor sexist, but it's a parody of what's going on. So he talks to the kid, and he says that he was a friend of his father. And this is kind of weird because he says he's been giving him money every year on his birthday. And he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And the kid's kind of like, "I don't know who you are." "Oh, yeah, you're the guy that gives me tons of money every year. I think I would remember your name." But anyway, he tells him that he was the Knightmare and that he had a bad accident. So he's searching for a new Knightmare to take his place. It's kind of a la the Phantom, but this is a little bit more Batman-esque, I think, than the Phantom. It's kind of a cross between Batman and Spawn and a little bit of Phantom, I guess. But so he goes and he talks about his past and who he's fought and his let's see, no, I just still can't see it. His partner. Anyway, they team up and it talks about their different battles between everybody, and he tells him that he wants him to become the new Knightmare. And so the girls bust in saying they've had enough and they want to know what's going on. And the daughter is very upset because she wants to be the new Knightmare, and the father has told her that he's going to be the new Knightmare. And so yeah, they just kind of get into a little tiff and have a little bit of manga style humor and stuff like that. She keeps calling him a street hood and stuff like that. So they've got a little bit of an exchange. So then she storms off but she's going to be the teacher of him because she is the new sidekick. So they have a nice little montage of him training and little A-Team / Rocky montage of training to become a badass, which is cool. So then they go along and she talks about the big bad guy that they're going to go after, who I guess is the nemesis of Knightmare. And apparently there was a Knightmare that was done by Rob Liefeld, and I don't know if it's supposed to be the same character. It came out 2 years after this, which is very odd indeed, since this looks very Spawnish to me, and yet Rob Liefeld does a comic called Knightmare. Was there any kind of legal action? I don't know. I will have to check that out and report back to you. But anyway, he puts on the costume apparently for the first time because it's kind of a big deal. And they are just talking about, "Ooh, you look so good," and blah, blah, blah. So then we cut to the big bad guy, and apparently, since he knows that the Nightmare is still alive, his regular cronies he doesn't trust to kill Nightmare, so he brings in an assassin. So then we go to Nightmare and his partner, and they're staking out a building that I guess they think is where this guy is, but they keep going back and forth about having patience and learning to set a plan and all this kind of stuff. Very superhero and mentor kind of talk. So then, I mean, he just decides to take off because he wants to just jump into the action. And she is very upset about it. But she goes and she tries to help, I guess. So we have the two regular assassins, and they've apparently kidnapped a bunch of business people. And so Nightmare busts in and he starts to fight them. But they're a little bit more than they can handle. So they kind of beat his ass, even though he kind of holds his own a little bit. They have a mutual respect for each other and their abilities, which is pretty cool. And that again is very manga ish. Having a respect for your opponent is pretty anime manga ish. So the cheetah girl and the other guy, they fight and they almost fight to a standstill. But then they kind of lay the smackdown on Nightmare, and they push him into an elevator shaft, which I guess one of them slashes the cables for the elevator, and that's how it ends. The flame from the very beginning that's actually telling the story to this mistress of the evil or whatever, says that he can't tell anymore, and she's being summoned by one of her friends or whatever. And then I get kind of lost because you have these up close images of her, I guess, and bad guys. I guess these are three bad guys, and that is that the one from the very beginning where I don't know if that's him. I don't know if this is him. But anyway, it's 3-4 bad guys, and she's a little bit worried. But then I guess the new old Nightmare, is it the same person? Does he just have a different outfit? I don't know. But they smash the ground, but I don't know how he gets through it. Does he phase through it? Does he jump through it? Does he walk? This part is very confusing for me. But there's no dialogue or any kind of exposition to tell anything. So, but then he does some sort of moves and they all explode. And he comes and he saves her, which I guess is his sidekick, from the evil bad guy. And then the bad guy turns into a giant creature, and he turns into a giant. I guess they're giant kaijus, and they're fighting. And then it comes to her, and it was just a nightmare. So, was that story all real, or was it all fake, or who knows? I don't know. P. Sky Owens. Let's get into the writing first. The writing is really good. I really enjoy it. The lettering, once in a while, I assume he did the lettering too. It doesn't say anywhere that he didn't do it. But the lettering sometimes is a little bit confusing because it overlaps with stuff, and I don't mind if it's stuff like this overlapping. I do that in my own comics, but if they overlap something that obscures what you're supposed to be reading, or it brings your eye into the wrong direction or something like that, then that is a fail for me. But like the narrative art is perfect. I didn't really have to go back and reread anything, which is really good because there's a lot of panels, and I wasn't really confused as to what was going on, except for the very end when there wasn't any lettering, and I think we'll get to that in a minute. But this whole sequences of the flashback and the prologue and everything is beautifully done. I think the only problem I have with the art is that I mean, there's lots of good blacks. You've got lots of good blacks here. Um, and this is really nice illustration. I love the water, and it has a lot of real nice textures. The inker, his lines sometimes are a little dead. They're not thick or thin according to what you should be looking at. But then again, there's sometimes like this water, like I said, is really nicely inked. So I guess it's a piece guy that does the inking as well. So, and I like not lights. There's a lot of nice blacks, like I said. Beautiful backgrounds. This really shows everything, and everybody is really in proportion. He's showing a lot of people in this background doing a lot of different things, and that is beautiful. That must have taken a long time. So I love the backgrounds. I love the figures. I think the strongest part of his art is the poses that he does, both for fighting and not fighting. The sexy girls, the fight scenes, the just the stances. He's got some really great poses. The faces are traditional American manga looking, anime looking. So it's hard to gauge because if almost all anime kind of looks the same, I don't know. I'm sorry if I offend any manga anime fans out there, but if you've got your face and your eyes are all big, it's I don't know. It doesn't look all the same, but it's a little bit too much sameness to it. But beautiful backgrounds here again, and more sexy ladies, and everybody, they do look different. It's not like because they're drawn in an anime manga style they look all the same, because you've got different looks for him and her and him. So they all have their own look and their own distinct style and of who they are. You can never confuse one character for another character, which is really great about his art. And like I said, the poses are beautiful. He really knows how to put everybody in the perspective that they need to be. And like I said, the panels there's a lot of panels, but when my favorite parts are when there's not quite so many panels. Like this is just a whole bunch of stuff, which is great because it adds to the story. But you do only 5-6 panels here. I really enjoy that a little bit more. So I love this montage part. I think this would have been way better served if it was in color. I'm having a little bit of a hard time distinguishing between shapes, and if it was in color, I think that would have been a lot better and a lot easier to distinguish. The writing is really good. Plot wise, I really enjoy it. But every once in a while, they have this silly manga humor, which is really kind of turns me off. Like when they introduce the assassin and everything, it just it reminds me of something from Dragon Ball Z or something like that, where it's just kind of rushed and kind of just cuts to it, and the dialogue is a little silly to me. But then you'll have some personal interactions, which kind of brings me back into the story, and it makes me enjoy it a little bit more. So it's like I said, it's a dichotomy of different styles of writing and different styles of art, and so it blends nicely together. I wish it was a little bit. I wish they had taken the silliness out, and just kind of, there's silly, and then there's characterization. The characterization is great, and I love that part, even the humorous parts, even though they're a little silly sometimes. But then other times it's a little too silly. So anyway, more great poses. I love the poses, the butt shot, the fight sequences. I love the action sequences, except for the very end. I love this. This is probably my favorite panel right here, where you can really tell that they're falling down an elevator shaft. And here's some great action poses, some fight scenes, and yeah, you can see a lot of different stylistic interpretations that he's used. This, I wish this had some dialogue or some kind of something to let us know what's going on, because these face panels are really nice and they show a lot of emotion, but that doesn't really tell you what's going on. And I just got a little bit lost. So it was really weird to have this intricate story that I'm reading through the whole thing, and have the end just kind of be like a showdown that I get lost in. It made it kind of a letdown for the end. So anyway, this has been a long one, but Knightmare by P. Sky Owens. It was a good read. I didn't go into the cover. The cover really shows exactly what's in the comic, which I really love. But even though I said color might distinct the different shapes and stuff, it really kind of doesn't the way he does it. Even though I think this is a beautiful cover, but when I looked at it before I was going to review this, I kind of got lost. There's just so much going on, and you just kind of get lost in this bright yellow flame. I don't know. It's really hard because it's beautifully done, beautifully and artfully done. All of the characters are really nice and really well drawn, and I love the just the whole way it's done. But it's a little busy. It's a little busy to be exactly what it needs to be, which is to grab your attention from the racks. But other than that, I think this was a really good read, and I really like the art, and I thought the writing was really pretty good, and it was definitely above average for writing and way above average for art. And I think if he had changed from his manga style, a lot like Matt Wagner, because he was very manga-ish in the beginning and then kind of changed his style. But if he had changed his style a little bit, I mean, who am I to say somebody should change their style? But I think I would have appreciated this a little bit more, and I might have picked this up a little bit more and gone after more issues. As it is, I probably would not look for more Nightmares if I found them out in the wild. But it was a satisfying read. I'm going to give this a 7. A lot of things are go good for it, go well for it. But the whole thing altogether kind of let me down a little bit, even though I did enjoy the story. I did enjoy the art. It just didn't end. I mean, there's a nice little cliffhanger and it's nice little prologue, but all right, I'm going to change it to a 7.5. I talked myself into it, 7.5, 7.5, because I did enjoy it. So if you guys like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And also let me know if you like Knightmare and if you've read more issues of it, and if it has anything to do with the Rob Liefeld Knightmare or what's going on there. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.